Hello everybody. Today I'm going to show you some basic music theory. I was thinking, what are some things that everybody should know maybe about music, and if we randomly selected a person walking down the street, and we asked them about music, what are some basics of music that maybe everybody should know? And I thought about making this video, so here we go. You can think of this as the fundamentals of music if you want to. That's fine. But I'm going to show you some stuff, and notice I'm showing you on a keyboard. I'm a musician, and I've played several other instruments, and I remember at one point someone suggesting to me, hey, when you talk about music, when you talk about music theory, it's really nice to have a keyboard in front of you. And I resisted for a while, and then eventually I realized what they were talking about. It's really visually, the way that the keyboard is laid out is so convenient when talking about some of these fundamentals of music, or some of the most basic, parts of Western music, which are what we're going to discuss today. So here we have a keyboard, and most of you have probably seen a keyboard before. The most basic description is a series of black and white keys, right? Mostly white keys, actually. And then we've got black keys as well. But some of my videos are going to cover mathematics, and one of the things that occurs often in mathematics are patterns, right? And there are some cool patterns when you look down at the keyboard. And one of the patterns that just of note, if we look at these black keys, we have 3 black keys, and then we have 2 black keys, and then we have 3 black keys, and we have 2 black keys, and we have 3 black keys. So I think my daughter, who's 5, has noticed that. And she's, oh, Dad, look at the pattern. 3, 2, 3, 2, 3, 2, all the way down the keyboard. And she's absolutely right. So looking at these black and white keys, we see that pattern. That's one of the first things we notice. And one of the first things I wanted my daughter to be able to do on the keyboard was to find C, which is one of the notes on the keyboard. And the way I told her to find C was to find any 2 black keys and then go just to the left of those 2 black keys. And that's actually C. Okay, so notice though, we can find these 2 black keys and go right to the left of that. And that's also a C. Okay, now these sound similar and different. So here, the first one, that's a C. And then this one is also a C. Some people might describe this second C as being higher and the first C as being lower. One of the things you would eventually discover if you were studying music theory is that these are an octave apart. So we have a C here, we have a C here, and then this pattern continues. We've got a C up here. I'm moving off of the video at this point, but there's another C on my keyboard, and then another C up there. And below this C here, again, I'm moving off of the camera here, but there's another C down there. Ooh, that's a low C right there. Okay. So these are all C notes, and they're all over the keyboard. And they're all an octave, either above the C to the left or below the C to the right. So an octave is something that's a pretty interesting concept in music. Anyway, well, if you can locate C and you're familiar with the alphabet, it should be pretty easy to name the other white notes, okay? As long as you can locate C and as long as you're familiar with the alphabet. But what you need to realize is that in the musical alphabet, we only go from A to G. We only go from A to G. So there is no note in Western music called H, for example. But there is A, B, C, D, E, F, and G. Okay, so A, B, C, D, E, F, and G. And it's interesting that we're not starting on A, but there's a reason there. C is a sort of, again, I'll use this word, fundamental starting place when you're discussing Western music. You generally start with C for a number of reasons, but so we'll start with C here. Okay, so we're going to start with C, and again, just going straight up the alphabet. The note right next to it to the right should be D, and it is. and then we should have E, F, G, and remember there's no H. So here's where we have to start over and go back to A, B, and C. So I'm going to do that one more time. So if we and by the way, we can do this starting on any C note on this keyboard. So let's start here this time. So we start with C here. I believe that's middle C. And just to the right of that, you know, following the alphabet should be D, then E, then F, G, and here we remember we need to start over and go back to A, and then B, and then we're at C again, and that pattern repeats all the way up and down the keyboard. Okay, so you can think of it as C through C is the way it works, right? C, D, E, F, G, A, B, and C. Okay. Well, in terms of these patterns, right? So you know, C was the note just to the left of these two black keys. Turns out E is the note just to the right of the two black keys. So that'd be another way of you know, using the pattern of the way these keys are laid out on the keyboard to learn the notes, right? So again, if you knew how to find C, if you went to any two black keys and then you went just to the left, you'd find C. We could say, well, go just to the right of them and you should be able to find E, okay? Looking at the three black keys, just to the left of the three black keys is actually F, and just to the right of the three black keys is B. So that's interesting. Kind of fun to see that pattern there. So again, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. All right. So we've named these white notes on the keyboard, which is pretty cool. So I think maybe after watching this video, it'd be cool if you could go to a keyboard and on your own after this video, locate C, just locate a C, and then locate another C, and then locate another C. It would also be cool if you could name the other white notes on the keyboard, just like we did. So it'd be great if you could find a keyboard somewhere and say, oh my gosh, this is C, this is D, this is E, this is F, this is G, this is A, this is B, and this is C again. So in other words, be great after this video if you could all familiarize yourselves with the white notes on the keyboard, but that is just the beginning, because I also want to talk about the black notes on the keyboard, which are, I just find them very interesting. Okay, so in other words, we know that this white note is C, and we know that this white note to the right of it is D, and all of a sudden we've got this note in between them. So I'm going to do this again. We have C. Just to the right of C, we have D. And then just in between them, we have this black note. Kind of interesting. I think the other thing I'm thinking right now as we're having this discussion here, I want to go ahead and play these notes sort of in ascending order. So let's start with C. Can't help it. Can't help but sing along. So we have C, and then this note above it, and then D. Okay. So this note above C and below D is a really interesting note. And in Western music, we refer to it, if we're moving up, like we just did, we refer to this black note as C sharp. So that would look like C, C sharp, D. Now here's the cool thing. If we're moving to the left, if we are descending, kind of the same way you descend a mountain, you can descend the piano keyboard, which just means you're moving left. And if we're descending, we actually name the note D flat. D flat, C. So you might say to me, well, which is it? Fundamental P. Which is it? Is it C sharp or is it D flat? And the answer, my friends, would be both. Okay, so this black note has, well, actually got more than 2 names, but I'm not going to get into that because it's kind of ridiculous and you don't encounter it very often. But let's say it's got at least 2 names, okay? So this black note just to the right of C and just to the left of D has 2 names. We call it C sharp, C, C sharp, D, or we call it D flat, D, D flat, C. Pretty fascinating. I find this pretty fascinating. Okay, so we have this note here that's got 2 names, C sharp and D flat. And then what about this one? Same thing, people. Okay, so this note here, this black note, is above D and below E. So if we're moving up, we would name this note D sharp. D, D sharp, E. If we're moving down, we would name this note E flat. E, E flat, D. So that's fascinating. So we have these 2 notes here, C sharp and D sharp, which we could also call D flat and E flat. Okay, so some of you maybe have run away already. You've turned off the video. This is too much. It's overwhelming. You know, part of what I intended to do with this video, that was the idea with fundamental, right? And the first, 3 letters of fundamental spell fun. I kind of wanted this to be fun. I didn't want this to be scary. I was scared of music for many, many, many years, and I just toughed it out, man. I don't know, just survival mode, being forced to go to music lessons and being forced to practice instruments, and later on in life, I developed an intrinsic appreciation for music and a real love of music, and I absolutely love music now. I still find it challenging at times. I still can get frustrated with music. I still, can find things overwhelming. But so don't run away, right? Don't turn off this video. But think of this as, God, this is fun, right? With this black note has 2 names. That's really cool. C sharp or D flat. That's cool. This black note has 2 names, D sharp or E flat. Okay, cool. Now, check this out though. Okay. The note just above C is C sharp. The note just above D is D sharp. Wouldn't the note just above E be E sharp? Isn't that interesting? But we already saw that this note was not called E sharp, okay? This note was called C, D, E, F, okay? So that's kind of like a trick question, right? In music theory or in Western music, you could speak of E sharp, and you if someone didn't know a whole lot about music, they might say, oh, get confused. Well, someone who knew about it was E sharp, very funny, that's F, right? But I mean, I think some people would argue, well, F and E sharp are the same note, right? So it's not as if it's not really it is a trick question, but it's not like the note isn't E sharp. It's just we generally call E sharp F, I think is the way that argument goes. But anyway, okay. So we really, for practical purposes, we don't need to worry about E sharp, okay? We got C sharp, we got D sharp, and then E sharp is just F, and we just call it F. So don't worry about that. Okay, but we do have C sharp and D sharp, right? And the note right above F, of course, would be F sharp. That's legit, right? The note above G would be G sharp, and the note above A would be A sharp, okay? So these notes right here, okay, these 5 black notes, if we're ascending, if we're moving up the keyboard, if we're on the keyboard and moving to the right, however you want to think of it, these notes would be C sharp, D sharp, F sharp, G sharp, and A sharp, okay? I'm going to do that again. C sharp, D sharp, F sharp, A sharp, G sharp, F sharp, G sharp, and A sharp. Okay. So what does that mean? It means You know, we actually played a scale before is what we were playing when we started out and we said C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. That was actually a scale. It's a C major scale. But we could play another scale where we play all the notes as we move up the keyboard. And it would look like this. C, C sharp, D, D sharp, E, F, F sharp, G, G sharp, A sharp, B, and then we could end on C where we started, right? And that's called a chromatic scale. It's called a chromatic scale. It's basically playing, let's count the notes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Okay? 13 if we include C, but we started on C. So this chromatic scale contains 12 notes. C, C sharp, D, D sharp, E, F, F sharp, G, G sharp, A sharp, B. Let's say you're feeling overwhelmed at this point and you're like, Fundamental P, this is a lot of information, dude. The good news is, those are all the notes in Western music. You could say, no, look at how big this keyboard is. This is no, that's it, man. Those are all the notes in Western music, those 12 notes. C, C sharp, D, D sharp, E, F, F sharp, G, G sharp, A sharp, B. That's it, 12 notes. So Jack Johnson, Snoop Dogg, Mozart, Metallica, Bruce Springsteen, Britney Spears, they are all using one of those 12 notes at any given time in any song they have ever played, and the same goes for any of their bandmates, right? Any other musicians who accompanied them, played with them on different instruments on any of the songs you've ever heard. And you said, what? No, yes. Okay. Every piece of music you've ever heard, I believe, unless you've traveled extensively in the Middle East or something like that. But anyway, any Western music, right, that you have heard, pop music, classical music, rock music, blues, Grateful Dead, soul, funk, just you name it, right? It all is made using 12 notes. That's it. Those 12 notes. Now here's the deal though. Remember, we named these black notes as I was moving to the right up the keyboard. C, C sharp, D, D sharp, E, F, F sharp, G, G sharp, A sharp, B. But guess what, folks? If I now descend, if I move down, if I now move to the left across this keyboard, guess what happens? B, B flat, A flat, G, G flat, F, E flat, D flat, C. Okay? So that's another alternative way to name the 12 notes that we use in Western music, right? Somebody says to you, Cash Cab, do they still have that show where the guy pulls over in the cab and you get in and he gives you, $1,000 if you can name all 12? I don't know if that's a question. It'd be a cool question, though. Name all 12 notes in Western music. Here's the deal. So you could say to him, I've got this. C, C sharp, D, D sharp, E, F sharp, G, G sharp, A sharp, B. And he would say, great, and give you $1,000. But if you said, this would be odd to say it this way, but if you said C, D flat, E flat, F, G flat, A flat, B flat, B, he should also give you $1,000 because those are also, that's an alternative way to name those 12 notes. It'd be much cooler, perhaps, to name those 12 notes as, hey, B, B flat, A flat, G, G flat, F, E flat, D flat, C. And then again, he gives you $1,000 because you named them descending rather than ascending. Anyway, so I'm going to adjust this camera a little bit. Yeah. I think that's it for now. There's all sorts of things that I'm imagining I want to tell you next time. I want to talk about half steps and whole steps, and as those relate to everything we've just discussed here today. And I will do that, I think, in my next video. And then beyond that, we can talk about intervals and yeah, we've got some fun stuff to talk about. But right now, I really wanted to just cover the basics. So maybe, okay, if you started this video with no knowledge or little knowledge of Western music, maybe the next time you see a keyboard in someone's house, or maybe you've got a keyboard at home, maybe you'll be able to sit down at that keyboard and find C, okay? Maybe you'll be able to name those 12 notes. Or let's just start with the white notes. Maybe you'll be able to name the white notes as you move to the right up this keyboard. C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. Maybe you'll be able to name all 12. C, C sharp, D, D sharp, E, F, F sharp, G, G sharp, A sharp, B. And folks, if I am really lucky, maybe you will be able to name them moving down the keyboard. B, B flat, A flat, G, G flat, F, E flat, D flat, C. All right, that's it for now in Fundamental P, and I'm going to come at you with more of these videos because I want people to know at least a little bit about music, and I want you to have fun with it, and I want you to appreciate it, and who knows where you'll go from there. But again, I'm also going to talk about mathematics. I absolutely love mathematics, probably equally to my love of music, and there's a lot of other stuff I love too. So I'm going to keep making these videos. Please, if you liked it, hit like, and if you really liked it, subscribe to my channel. Please do, and I'll get more of this stuff out for you, more content. All right, everybody, take care.